And we're back to Bright Minded Live with Miley. And this time, it was not my fault. For once. Okay, I'm going to let everyone join here. I see that everything's back up and running. I want to thank Instagram so much. I don't know how y'all do this. You worked so quickly. The tech support was just so badass getting the show back up and running. And it is a fucking awesome show, if I do say so myself. So I did not want to not get to share this songwriting camp with you guys and breakfast with Anthony. So thank you, Instagram, for getting Bright Minded back up and running. Okay, so let's get started. Welcome back to Bright Minded Live with Miley. Today is a very special episode with a very special guest. After we make some food with Anthony that will be customized to consider the times we're in, but if there are ingredients you lack at home right now, do not worry. Just get out your notebook, take down the recipe, and I'll also ask Anthony for modifications and to simplify what we may be missing for this No Good Cook also. Right after Anthony, there will be a songwriting camp with Mark Ronson, Grammy and Oscar-winning producer, writer, musician, DJ, and a BFF of mine and collaborator. Oh, my dog's about to knock down. Okay. And collaborator. Some more of my BFFs include Ryan Tedder, songwriter, Grammy Award winner, and lead singer of One Republic. And then a true queen in the songwriting community, Ilse Juber, who's written songs for Shawn Mendes, Camila Cabello, Beyonce, #1 song for Panic at the Disco, LA Goulding, and we wrote Nothing Breaks Like a Heart together with Mark. So if you have ambitions of being a songwriter, you should definitely take notes. You are literally going to be learning from the very best of the best. So songwriting comes from the heart. It isn't a skill. Necessarily, it's not something that you learn. It's a gift that you're given. But like anything, there is always an opportunity to do and be better, to grow, to learn. There hasn't been a time that I have been in the studio with these three that I haven't taken home something to ponder. They always make me want to be better. They challenge my lyrics, Ilse, my melodies, Ryan Tedder, and my entire body of work to make sure I put the most incredible, cohesive album and project together possible, Mark Ronson. So songwriting is about feeling, and then relief, to write down your problems, your worries, your heartbreak, your happiness, your joy, your love, and then releasing it for others to relate to. It's been an honor to work beside these three, and my gift to you is an hour to do the same. So I am very excited. Before we get started, if you want a hoodie as cool as mine, you can go to TWLOHA. That stands for To Write Love on Her Arms. So TWLOHA.com. To Write Love on Her Arms, which is a nonprofit movement dedicated to presenting hope and finding help for people struggling with depression, addiction, self-injury, and suicide. They invest directly into treatment and to recovery. So I'm excited to be wearing this shirt and showing my love for To Write Love today. With COVID-19 causing a lot of anxiety and stress, it's a great time to support a cause like To Write Love on Her Arms, which I have been supporting for probably the last 15 years. Jamie is a great friend of mine, the founder, and so go to their website to learn more about how you can get involved and also get a badass hoodie. Their shirt sales allow their team to continue to bring a mix of resources. Their team continues to respond to individual messages that come in. They work to connect people to professional help and at times to help fund that help as well. So get your merch now, super cool merch from super cool cause To Write Love on Her Arms. So make sure you get involved now. All right, so I want to get started with Anthony, so I'm going to invite Anthony right now to Bright Minded Live with Miley. Hope this shit works. Here we go. Yes. Waiting for Anthony. This is going to be awesome. I'm so excited.
It works!
Yes, we're back on.
Thanks, Instagram.
I can't see you quite yet, but I can hear you.
I can see me and I can see you. Is it there now?
No, hold on.
Wrong.
I'm gonna re-ask you. Hold on.
Sit.
Okay, I can see you.
Hey!
Who are you talking to down there?
This is our little Foster Neon. She's a Beagle Pit mix.
Oh my God.
Because I decided, you know, with COVID and everything, like, why not make life even more complicated and take in a foster during this crazy time?
I just did a very similar thing, except I am, you know, a full-on commitment type gal. So I went straight into adoption.
Oh my gosh.
This is my buddy. Hi, Neon.
She's so good. It's Austin Pets Alive, and I was worried because I heard that they may be closing during this whole pandemic, and then all these fosters were going to be left there. So I decided I'm here in Austin, might as well make the best of it, and so I'm trying to teach her some good things.
I love that, and you're going to do the same thing for us today, which I'm really, really excited about.
Yeah, I'm really pumped.
I wanted you know to kind of to guide me. Usually, you know, talk show is kind of in my wheelhouse because I love to talk, but I know nothing really about cooking beyond pouring almond milk onto my Cocoa Crisps. Okay. So you can totally guide. I wanted to start with, you know, it's really important that we don't waste right now. So how do we continue to make foods that we love? Because breakfast is such a part of our schedule and our routine. I mean, even if it's just a banana and peanut butter, this is our ritual. This is our schedule. So what do we do when we kind of, it's interesting because we have no schedule, you know, with staying inside. So how do we create a schedule? And is food a big part of that, of having a routine so you can have some normalcy?
Of course. I mean, you know, selfishly for this, I started, I have a little mini series on Insta called Quarai, where I'm basically cooking with literally whatever I have. I'm not in my own apartment. I'm not in New York. I don't have all my spices and all the things that I'm usually used to having, and just making do with the best with what we've got, basically. That's really all it's been. It's adaptability, right?
I love that. And also, I mean, a lot of people were, you know, traveling in the time where all this happened. So I'm sure you're not the only one that is now stuck in a place that you don't really call home. Right. I know I usually have, like, one of my best friends is Indian, and he makes the most badass Indian food. Yeah. And he made me, like, a little sweetheart, made me a little, like, shaker full of just masala so I could make it whenever because he's not here to always help me.
Oh, put that on your eggs. It's so good.
That's what I've been doing it on, like, tofu. I've been putting on, I literally put it on everything. I'll put it on pizza. I put it on everything. I wanted to start my own food truck at one time called Indian Pizza because they're my two favorite things. And I'm like, why would you not put Indian food? Because it's basically a lot of tomato-based things.
Yep.
And a lot of people do use, like, paneer and things. So I'm like, why can't I do, like, a non-pizza? So maybe it's like collab. Like, I just kind of put everything on everything, and I love spicy because I'm country. So he made me like a little spice mix so I can make my masala, but it's running low, and I'm starting to have anxiety about this. And we can't see our friends that usually it's such a big part of community. So, you know, for those of us who are better at one skill set in the kitchen and we don't have our friends to balance that out, like what's something super simple that we can make in the morning to keep that routine and also not waste? Do you have any ideas?
Absolutely. The thing is, like, with what I'm learning is, like, as I post these videos and I'm developing all these recipes and like just doing new things and working with literally whatever I have, what I have here in Austin is not necessarily what's available in Los Angeles or New York or anywhere in between. So I just want to give that as like kind of like a precursor to this. I love eggs. They're so good for you. They have omega-3s. They're packed with protein. They're cheap. Sometimes they're super readily available. Sometimes they're not. I went to the grocery store this week. Little note, FDA suggesting that we only go once a week. And I'm going to take a little segue. This is my ADD coming in, but I'll come right back to it, I promise.
Oh, that's perfect.
We shouldn't be buying more food than we need for 1 week. I know everyone is in such a panic. They're stocking up and getting like as many canned beans or chickpeas or whatever it is that they can grab, or tuna or all these like canned goods. But there's tons of produce that's still available there. We have to support our farmers, small businesses, whenever it's safe, of course. So just know when you're like grocery shopping to like, don't just go for like the non-perishables. Go through the whole store and get a little bit of everything.
I thought it was really kind of funny the other day. I did go to, go and get my weekly meals, and, I kept it to a minimum, and I tried to think of what can I use that I can use in a lot of different things that could kind of be breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So what can I use? And then this woman was behind me at the grocery store. Hopefully she doesn't watch my Insta Live. she's not me at the grocery store, and she had like 15,000 freaking cans of beans or whatever. And I was like, wow, you know, you're really stocking up. And she's like, well, as a vegetarian in this crisis, there's really no options for me. This is all I can eat. And I'm like, most things we keep in our pantry are honestly vegetarian, and there's actually a lot of vegetarian options. You know, you're about to show a vegetarian, not vegan, but a vegetarian option. And so it was just funny to me that in this crisis, the idea came into someone's head that it's going to be so much more difficult because I'm vegetarian, which really isn't the case. I think all of us can find things that we still enjoy, that we love, and that we also don't need to be hoarding food so others don't have as many options.
Totally, absolutely. I mean, that goes down to everything. And a lot of people are buying, like, I don't know, have you heard of the whole WIC label, the WIC?
No.
So WIC is basically reserved for people who get government assistance when they're buying a lot of food. Right. And so people are buying off all those items, and then people who have government assistance can't buy those products. So make sure when you're at the grocery store, look for the label WIC. If you can't, if that's all that you can afford, I completely understand, but be cognizant of the fact that there are other people out there who really need this. And another little segue, that's why Feeding America is so important. I know you've been a massive help to them as well, and they're basically working with over 200 food banks and getting food to people who need it, from the elderly, students who are not in school and getting their meals that they usually do, and families who really need it.
Yeah,
so,
my family is from Kentucky. They're from the Appalachian Mountains, and most of the kids there, that is their, you know, their breakfast and lunch. At least sometimes they don't even have dinner once they go home, and they go to school every day. That's what's going to be fed, and without going to school, they're going to be missing meals. So Feeding America is really important, and it's also amazing how much you can do with such a little donation. So
absolutely,
what you donate, if you donate, I believe it's like $1, 10 meals. I mean, whatever you donate is amazing. So so yeah, I wonder, we touched on grocery shopping, not buying in bulk. That was a question that I had for you. And so what's something if you want to not waste, which is so important always, not just during a pandemic, but we throw out so much food. And I love watching Instagram chefs use the night before leftovers. So could you kind of explain a way that you could turn dinner into breakfast, breakfast into dinner?
Yeah, I mean, so that's a perfect segue for what I'm going to be making for you virtually. Not that you're going to be able to try it. But,
I know.
So I think, you know, my life motto is taking everything a day at a time. That's how I keep things simple for myself, and especially in these times with my food as well.
Yeah.
I'm literally going to be using, last night I got takeout, because we have to support small businesses as well when we can, from one of my favorite Tex-Mex places here. And I have some leftover beans. I have a couple of corn tortillas that I'm heating up with a bit of water. When they get dry, you put them on a pan. And eggs. Eggs are back, so I'm actually going to show how to make. Do you eat eggs?
I used to, but I know how delicious that they are, and I know that watching will eat eggs, so I'm so excited.
Pretend that it's like a food scramble.
Well, I do this with this chana masala breakfast that I've been making, so I pretty much am on an Indian food diet right now.
Okay, awesome. There are much worse diets to be on. Indian food is definitely the way to go. So I've been nerding out a little bit on how to make things better, because, well, I have so much more time and I'm cooped up at home. So basically, if you take eggs, scrambled eggs, my new little hack is that I've learned, if you add just a couple of teaspoons of water, 1 teaspoon for every 2 eggs, it thins it out a little bit and it makes them really nice and creamy. So I basically whisk them up. I got a pan here that's already hot on medium heat. You can use olive oil, butter, plant butter, ghee, coconut oil, literally whatever you have.
Amazing.
And then you just plop them right in. This whole thing takes 3 minutes to make. It couldn't be easier. And I don't salt my eggs until the end, because then they kind of get they get a little weird texture. And I love my eggs to be creamy.
Yeah.
And then with a little spatula, you just start mixing it around, and it's already starting to curdle. So now, while that makes, I bought some tomatoes the other day because I had dreams of making a really nice caprese salad, but I didn't find buffalo mozzarella. So I'm making do with what I got. So I cut up some little baby tomatoes, a bit of onion. I had a jalapeno that was left over from a Thai peanut sauce that I made with coconut flakes, because I didn't have coconut milk. So I threw in the jalapeno in there, a little bit of lime juice, a little bit of salt at the end. You don't want to add your salt too early with your tomatoes, because then all the juices kind of pour out and it becomes like a sauce. So you want them to stay nice and thick. And so I have a nice little fresh pico.
I've been doing everything wrong, officially.
What are you doing wrong?
I just pour in salt the whole freaking time because I'm country.
I'm a salt freak.
I'm
I
like,
love
"Ooh, this is
salt.
nasty. More salt. Ooh, this tastes creepy. More salt. I'll do salt
Yeah.
in the freaking cookies, salt in the cake, salt in the...
Salt on a chocolate chip cookie is like the greatest thing
It's
ever.
everything. It's everything. Okay, so this is my classic dish that I make. This is some country shit. I make oatmeal with ice cream because I love super hot oatmeal with really cold ice cream. And when the ice cream starts to melt, it is just so bomb. And you can do any ice cream that you want. So oatmeal ice cream is my specialty.
Wait, so okay, regular ice cream and then like hot instant oatmeal?
A hot instant oatmeal, so hot and cold, and you get both at the same time, and then it's just like melts in your mouth.
I want vanilla ice cream and I want like a shit ton of cinnamon on there.
It's everything. And my mom can only cook two things. My mom can cook lasagna and oatmeal. So that was like dinner, and that was dessert, and then basically breakfast and repeat. We were like a frozen waffle kind of family. But my dad, he is like the takeout king. So he loves takeout food. So that's why we didn't cook very much growing up, because my dad just loved going to takeout places. I think mostly because he loved to trap his kids in his truck and make us listen to his new music. Because if we were like on the way to whatever restaurant, we'd have to listen to my dad's new album.
So the Cyrus family was basically frozen waffles and a lot of takeout. But look, you made it out alive.
Exactly, and I'm strong.
There you go. Okay, here's the thing with scrambled eggs. One of my pet peeves is overcooked eggs when they get like really hard. You want them to be nice and runny. The whites are fully cooked through, and that's why whisking them really nicely is super important. Like these are still wet and really nice, and they're good to go. Take them off the heat like 30 seconds to a minute before you think that they're ready, so they stay nice and creamy. And the same goes for if you're making a tofu scramble as well.
Awesome.
And then I grab my little tortilla that I heated up on a little pan. I like the corn ones over the flour ones, but if all you have is flour, we're just working with what we got. Leftover beans from last night, smear them on.
Smear.
And then a little bit of special salt from Miss Miley. It's a lot, but it's okay.
This is amazing. I think everyone is going to be so happy to know that you can have whatever you had the night before for breakfast.
I'm literally using 3 dinner meal like leftover components to create this.
That is amazing.
Like we have to be creative. That's the plus side. I know it's like a horrible, stressful time for so many people, and it's not to be taken lightly, but like creativity can happen in these times. Like we're stuck here, we might as well make the best of it, you know?
Absolutely. I had some leftover Christmas lights. I had a DJ booth, which I'm still not sure whose DJ booth. I'll actually show you this. I have no idea whose this is. I think it might be my sister, but I hope she doesn't mind that I painted on it and covered it in glitter.
Amazing.
My sister's also older than me, so she will beat my ass as soon as she sees this live. But
I miss my records in New York. You just made me miss my record players.
All over her DJ.
My favorite thing to do. Okay, so we have our eggs. They're right here. And then you put a little bit of pico. And then the last component, we're going to cut up a little avocado.
Yum!
Slice it open.
If you cut, I want to come back as an avocado. I think they're everyone's favorite.
They really are. They're creamy and they're delicious.
Yeah. Just
it's perfectly ripe too. You know when it's not fully ripe and you're like, oh shit, I should have let it sit.
I literally look like an avocado right now.
You do. That's a grand compliment, frankly.
It is.
And then just scoop out the whole thing. And now because I don't have a lot of the spices that I typically do whenever I'm back home in New York, I found this at Trader Joe's. It's like a chili lime seasoning. I've been putting it on fresh mango. It's delicious. And I just put that on the avo. And there you go. You have a cute little meal.
That is super cute, super like easy to do with so many different things. You know, we were talking about all the different leftovers. I love that you incorporated like not just the night before, but your Thai. You put so many. Don't throw things away. We're not in a time to waste.
No, this is not. I mean, and let this be a lesson for when things are back to normal, whatever the hell that means.
Yeah.
Just to remember to not be wasteful with things, you know, and just be creative with it. Like, there's always a solution for it, and we get to learn from it. Like, we get to be better and stronger. I'm an optimist.
Thank you so much for this morning, everyone. Hope you wrote that down. Totally freestyle. Actually, I'll ask everyone to take pictures of the breakfast that they make for once they have this
Nice. I love
send us
that.
some photos, and I'll send it to Anthony, and I'll get pictures from everyone making their own version of your breakfast.
And donate to Feeding America if you can. They're awesome.
Yes, let's do it. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was awesome. Okay. I believe my next guest is ready. And that was just so amazing. I'm so happy that Anthony, he brings so much light, not just right now, but all the time with Queer Eye. So I'm so happy to have him on the show. So now it is time to talk music with Mark Ronson. So I'm going to put him on in. All right.
Hey!
Mark Ronson.
I've never done this before. How is that sad? This
I'm
is great.
popping your Insta Live cherry.
Hey!
Hey!
Hey, can I tell you a funny story about Tony Anthony? Do you say
Yeah.
Anthony or Tony? Or?
Anthony.
Anthony.
But
So,
maybe if you guys are homies, he goes by Tony. I'm just not there yet.
no. So I was a big fan of the show when it first came out. Do you know the Big Five?
Yeah.
And I saw him at a party, and it was like one of those parties, not like I go to them all the time, but like everybody's famous, and you're like looking around, and he's so handsome, and I was like, I couldn't remember, you know, when you see someone famous that you know that you like because they were in
Yeah.
something that you like, but you can't remember, and there's so many shows now and all these things you watch. So I just went up to him, and I was like, I'm so embarrassed. Like, I know I watch you on TV, and I like the thing that you're on a lot, but like, are you on like an HBO show or something? And he's like, do you watch Queer Eye? I was like, oh, that's it. But I totally thought he was just like some actor who's on some show that I like, because I forgot.
Well, he's just like so handsome, and he is just always making. I mean, that looks so bomb what he's making, and he's also just such like, you know, when people just have that charisma, when someone like radiates that energy. I'm gonna turn you down a little. When someone radiates just like that star power, you know, like you and me. You know,
Hey,
when you just like walk into a room and everyone's just like magnetized to you.
Yeah.
He's got that personality, so it's really cool what he does, and he helps people all the time, not just in a pandemic.
It's great. I love that show so much. They really like, you know, they transform people's lives. It's such a nice thing. Everybody's crying at the end. I'm crying. So.
I'm always crying.
Yeah, on the plane.
At the end of every episode.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining the show. You know me, I like to keep my brain, you know, occupied and using this platform that I have to connect, and like whether that's connecting to fans or people that just want some light and optimism in their day. There's been so many people joining every day, and I know they're really excited for today's episode because I think a lot of people are able. I had Amy Schumer on the show a couple days ago, and you know, some people, like when you have that job and you don't have time to really focus on a hobby or a passion. So when you're working your 9 to 5, when you come home, you're exhausted. And even though you have this dream of being a songwriter or being a stand-up comedian, or I had Jeremy Scott of being a designer, usually we're so busy with our 9 to 5 that we don't have time to like really put that love and energy into our passion and into our hobbies. So I think more people that have a dream of being a songwriter will have time to actually kind of like polish up their skills and sharpen their melodies and their lyrics. So I know they're going to be excited to learn from you. So I want to talk to you about like your journey from the beginning. Like, how would one become a Mark Ronson? I'm asking for a friend.
Well, I got to tell you something, actually. What you were just saying just really struck a chord with me, because like I'm here and I'm using this time, you know, obviously there's a lot going on in the outside world, and we all just have to do, like Anthony said, like make the most of the situation, right? So like even I'm like teaching myself Ableton and different like music programs and stuff that I've never learned before. So I agree with what you're saying. This is an amazing time to sort of take that. How during this time, if you were to say how would you make how would you become a Mark Ronson, whatever that means? I guess it's just. Well, the thing is, this is a hard time to be a Mark Ronson because I require like collaborating with incredible people like yourself, and you know, I write music. I like to come up with arrangements. I like to produce stuff. So this is a different time for me. But I don't know. I guess the main thing is just like this is a good time to be finding a program that you like to make music on, coming up to composing, coming up with whether it's beats or tracks or chords or songs or whatever you do, because it really is like people are sitting home, people want to listen to music, people want stuff to digest. This is like a great time if you can sit alone and make music by yourself and put it out. There's an audience sitting there waiting for it.
That's really, really good advice. Is to try things that you haven't been doing. And it also shows that you can, I said it in my introduction about songwriting, we can always get better. It doesn't matter what skill set it is, whether it is songwriting or painting or what your regular job is. Like, you can always grow, always evolve, always get better. So I think it'll be encouraging to everyone watching that someone like you is still trying to learn, because you should never stop learning. My dad says the dumbest guy in the room is the guy that thinks he's the smartest guy.
Yeah, no, I know. I definitely like. I've been getting, honestly, like it's so embarrassing, but I've been getting like lessons and tutoring from like Ableton from all these like amazing producers, like these guys, the Bakar brothers. I even had Kevin from Tame Impala showing me how to like do some side chaining, like all these things that I've just kept saying I'm gonna learn it one day, and I've been stubborn. Like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Definitely happy sitting here learning some new stuff.
The fans are writing bad karma over and over again, and then one just wrote, oh, here you go. One person just wrote, Mark Ronson, I know you know how to read. Release bad karma.
That's not my song. That's your song.
Our song.
Okay, but you got the little, the lock and the key on the amazing new Miley. When is all this amazing new Miley music that I heard? When is this coming? Am I turning the interview on you for a minute? But when are you going to put out?
Well, my plan was around these summer festivals, and I've never done an American summer tour, like a festival round before. We did the European shows together last year.
Yeah.
Played Glastonbury, and with this music, with Bad Karma, like there is that Joan Jett kind of, element to it that I really wanted to be able to have live at festivals in the summers, which now it looks like a lot of those shows are getting pushed back to fall. So, another wise word from my dad is life is a series of adjustments. So I'm just over here adjusting. And,
yeah. That thing behind you, your head is so cool. I thought it was some app or something.
I made this because we all have a lot of time on our hands. So I wanted to ask you, okay, this is kind of like a interesting time to ask you that question. So we're not going, obviously, like you kind of started with DJing, and right now we're not able to go to clubs and bars and get sweaty and dance with each other. So I've seen a lot of people do Insta Live DJ sets, which is a really good way to build a fan base. So how do you think that social media or YouTube has changed the industry, whether that's for better or for worse?
I think it's definitely better. I think, just like you said, you can make a piece of music, you can decide you want to DJ live, and you have this instant audience. So I'm glad I came up in the era when I did, because I love the sweaty clubs of New York in the the late 90s and 2000s. But it's amazing, like my friend D Nice had a DJ set the other night on Instagram, and I think 100,000 people were there, and you had he was shouting out healthcare workers, then you had like Drake signing on all these different people. So I do think that social media and all that stuff is pretty great, how it joins people up.
I agree. So speaking of like whether it's DJing or producing or writing, do you have like any sort of formula of what comes first? Because when you and I first started working together, it was for Nothing Breaks Like a Heart, and like we kind of already had the track produced, and you and LC, who I'm talking to later, had kind of had a beginning of a structure and a chorus. Like, do you usually have a reference? Like when we're like, oh, we want to make the new 2019 Jolene, do you always have a reference, or do you start somewhere new every time?
I think you start somewhere new every time, and then sometimes you're lucky somebody just comes into the studio with an idea and just like, oh, you know what, I was driving here and I just had this idea for this lyric, and then that's kind of the jump off point. And then honestly, that song probably came about mostly because ever since I saw you sing, that time 4 years ago on the SNL thing, I was like, one day I will make this great song or some demo or a track and just send it, and you'll be like, yeah, I'll be over in 2 hours. And we didn't really know each other, and that's sort of what happens, because we joke about it a lot, but I've been hitting you up for a while. We've been trying to talk about working, and that was just, I think that was really designed to try and like rope you into doing a song. So they all come about different ways.
Well, I mean, there was no verses written. It was just a chorus, and I pushed play on my phone, and it was so serendipitous because I was driving towards Malibu, and you were actually out in Malibu working at Shangri-La, and I was like, well, it's like an exit past my house. I'm just gonna come straight there, and it was just crazy. It was just so kind of cosmic that worked out, and then me and Ilse kind of formed this songwriter sisterhood, you know, being in kind of a male dominant industry. Her and I just clicked, and we wrote this piece with you, and it reminded me too that I can have a record that everyone loves and I can love it too, because sometimes I think in the industry we forget, we feel like there's going to be a part of us that we're going to have to sacrifice to have a hit song, and that song reminded me that that's not true.
No, and also when you and Ilse just started writing those verses, part of the thing about being a producer is also knowing when to get out the way of talent and something magical happening. So when you and Ilse just started like throwing lines of the verse back and forth and stuff, I was like, I'm definitely not needed here. And that's the other thing about being a producer, like be there when you need to. You don't have to put your stamp on everything. Just like let two incredibly talented, brilliant people just do their thing. So yeah.
You went and did TM.
I think I did go and do TM. I went and did TM and probably I came back 2 hours later and you guys had written the whole song.
It's the most kind of like Mark Ronson thing in the world. We're writing this song and like me and Ilse are really like fired up on matcha, and we're like going back really fast like crazy people, and you just go, I'm gonna go meditate.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know the fans that, I wanted to ask this. So what artists, like when you were growing up, what artists made you go, I have to be a musician? What were you listening to? And is it something that we can find that you can recommend? We have time to listen to a lot of music. What would be your recommendation from the past?
I mean, I love, when I was a kid, I loved, like when I was like 7, 8, 9, 10, I loved Duran Duran and then Guns N' Roses. And then I got really into hip hop because I was living in New York at that point. I moved there when I was 8 with my mom, and so I loved, I don't know, like De La Soul and the Beastie Boys and Public Enemy, and probably DJ Premier from Gangstar was the person that really I wanted to be he was the beat maker that I just loved the sound of his stuff so much, you know. So I would say those guys, and then obviously people like Quincy Jones and you know, Stevie Wonder and Steely Dan, all sorts of stuff. I kind of love everything. I'm just like
all things that everyone can find now. They can go to YouTube, they can go to Spotify, they can go find these things that have been so inspiring to you, because I think sometimes, I mean, even I get to do this a lot, which I love, because you can take songs that maybe some of my fans, younger generation, wouldn't recognize and give them a rebirth, give them a new life. It's actually really funny when you Google Jolene, it comes up that it's a Miley Cyrus song, which is absolutely not accurate. But for this generation, it is. That's how they got introduced to the song. So it's just cool when an artist, you know, of the now can take a record from then and give it new life, and also just talk to these kids. So many of my fans are younger and wouldn't know some of the artists you just mentioned. So do your research, because you know the past is what makes all the great ingredients from what we grew up listening to.
Yeah, I love the covers that, like, every now and then I'll discover some cover that you did of like Crowded House, Don't Dream It's Over, and I'll be like, God, how does she even know that song? I forget you're just such an encyclopedia of music. The way you interpret songs is really, I told you this before, but not only are you one of my favorite singers alive, but just the way that you already know what you're gonna sound good singing before you even probably comes out of your mouth. You just own it. It's so great.
I say that's from my dad. My dad had this truck. I was just telling Anthony that my dad loves takeout food, but the only reason he likes takeout is that means he'll be able to trap his children in his truck so he can play his records that he likes over and over again, but usually they're his own records. Yeah. So my dad's the king of covers also, so he'll be like, I want to play you this great song by Johnny Cash. The only twist is I'm singing it. And you're like, oh, so it's not a Johnny Cash song. I'm listening to another one of your records. Right. So that's my dad's favorite thing, is to listen to his own music. So I want to talk. Obviously, we talked about us working together. It was just we clicked from the very first day in our studio, and then that became a bond that have taken us from the my last record drop. Songs like "The Most," which is one of my favorite songs on the record.
Yeah, love it.
And then records that we have on my next album, TBD on the date.
All I can see is like just your fans, just because they know they know one of the names of the song, so it's just like bah, 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 like all the streaming comments at the bottom. It's just
they're either
over and over again.
Release Bad Karma or Mark Ronson is that daddy, whatever that means.
Yeah.
So I love that you always let me kind of like let my Dolly Parton, influence come through, but then we go in there with like Stevie Nicks and little Joplin, seasoning, and we also put in Joan Jett inspiration on this record coming up. It's just the best. So I can't wait for everyone to hear.
I can't wait.
The next album.
I cannot wait.
Before we sign off, I was wondering if we should do a chorus of Nothing Breaks Like a Heart. It's kind of, it kind of really makes a lot of sense with what's going on right now in the world.
Have you jammed over? Have you managed to jam? Like, will we be playing at the same time? Will it work?
Yeah.
Should we try?
I haven't jammed.
Okay, tell me if you hear this.
Nothing breaks like a heart. Yeah. Thank you, Mark Johnson. Thank you for being on Bright Minded.
Thanks so much for having. Thanks for keeping us all entertained and bright minded and happy.
I hope
be
to see you
safe.
soon in the Yo.
See you soon.
Bye. Okay. For some reason, it's frozen on Mark Ronson on my end. Hold on. Okay, maybe the only way to remove Mark Ronson is to add Ryan Tedder. All right, so now songwriter, lead singer, badass philanthropist, Ryan Tedder. I'm adding you in now.